What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? It's Matty Peverell and Marky Davison, the Touch Down Under boys, bringing to you our first full actual video podcast on YouTube on our new channel, Steelers Touchdown Under. On the audio side, it's Steelers TDU on Apple and Spotify. This content will roll out there as well. So pretty excited to bring it to you. So we are starting up this new channel. So click like, subscribe, that bell icon, and then you can stay up to date with everything that we've got going on. Marky D, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing pretty well, mate. So what's this? The first official, on our own, standing on our own podcast with our own 2 feet, I guess, our own 4 feet. Now we're with BTSC, but our shows are dwindling. They got 2 more shows left, or we've had 1 more show left to go. And it's been a fantastic time with BTSC, now the Steel Curtain Network. But here we are with our own show, and I'm pretty friggin' keen, man. It's a lot of fun, eh? We've been on this journey for 2 or 3 years, and now here we are on YouTube and all the audio platforms you've organized for us, the Spotify, the Apples, all those kind of things. It's kind of cool to see the direction that we are going.
That's it, mate. And as you said in the trailer video that's up on YouTube as well, that's been rolled out across onto the audio side too. It's definitely, there's a fresh feel about it, or a new air to it that we're feeling. So want to crack into it today. Today's going to be about a 20 to 30 minute podcast, pretty quick for everyone. Top 5 positional draft needs. Now, I think one of the things that I think about with draft needs is, number one, if you look at this at a wider NFL level, a lot of coaching changes are happening right now. GM front office changes are happening. Teams you might be think they're drafting today, it'll be very different from where they end up drafting. Yes, the actual draft pick may not change unless there's a trade, but the type of player they're looking at. We've got free agency to come in a couple of weeks' time. We've also got and with that will be people that are re-signed, people that are cut, the people that are tagged. You've got the combine to come. We've only just had the Senior Bowl. Super Bowl was only a couple of days ago, so 5 positional needs after 5 days. The Super Bowl is kind of the theme of the show. There's a lot to go under the bridge, but as of today, as of mid-February, we thought we'd bring you a show, Steeler fans, and even for general NFL fans, to sort of figure out where the Steelers are sort of targeting on what are the top 5 positional needs. So, Mark, I think let's just straight into it. What's your number 1, or what's the first positional need that comes to mind for you?
It's funny because you said NFL fans. I'm like, just not Bengals fans. You're not wanted here, right? We don't want any Bengals fans. Nah, I'm only joking, man. Everyone's welcome. We have a fun time in the comments, so everyone's welcome. And it's really intriguing to get your view on the Steelers too. If you are a Bengals fan, Browns fan, or someone else in the NFL, it's really interesting to see your take too. My number 1s. Are we going to rank them? Are we ranking top 5?
Let's get through them, and then we can rank them after we get through them. Let's see where we've got a few similarities and differences. We'll talk a few prospects.
I'm gonna go with, I think the standout that everyone's talking about now is pretty much the cornerback position. I think the cornerback position, at whatever value you see in this draft, in the first top 50, if it is 17, 33, technically 32, or 49, I think the cornerback position is key. I think they will go. Oh, I gave it away, but they're going to go probably those top 3 positions. We'll go to cornerback. Some way. Now, I don't know who the best guys are. I do know Gonzalez is a good corner. I read about him the other day, and with the talk about Porter as well. But I don't watch any college football really now. Now covering the Steelers, I'm not a scout, so I just go off the reports. But that is a position of need because we don't know what's going to happen with some players, right? The only player, Sutton, is still yet to be signed or extended, and he could be a free agent. I know they're going to lose cap there, or dead cap money. But the only guy I know that is probably coming back is Levi Wallace, right? Do we know that
Keller Witherspoon's coming back as well. He's got a cap hit cut of I think it's somewhere between 3.5 to 4 million. I think it's 4 million off the top of my head, which is interesting. So you talk about Gonzalez. Gonzalez is probably my favorite top ranked cornerback at the moment in the draft. You got Joey Porter Jr. from the Nittany Lions. Then you've got a guy called Devin Witherspoon. I don't know. I feel burnt on Witherspoons. I don't want another Witherspoon in at cornerback. You can't cut one and bring in the other. I'm not a fan of that. You got Cam Smith from the Gamecocks, Keely Ringo from the Georgia Bulldogs. They're kind of the top 5 sort of guys. So if you're looking at round 1, pick 17, they're the guys you're talking about. And then after that, it gets very there's a lot of depth in this draft, but there's guys like Clark Phillips III, Emmanuel Forbes, DJ Turner, Caillou Blue Kelly. I'm kind of interested in Caillou Blue Kelly in the second or third round for the Steelers. You got a guy called William Garrett, I think he's out of Syracuse. And for him, he's sort of floated around a lot of different drafts at prospects at the moment in terms of the rankings. You've got LaDainian Tomlinson's, I think it's his nephew in Travius Tomlinson Hodges, who played for the TCU Horned Frogs. There's a guy that I talked about on Steelers War Room this week that's still on Steel Curtain Network, but Deontay Banks, who plays for Maryland, who I felt when you looked at his profile, he's a bit of a Steelers player. He's probably a third or fourth round guy. So there's definitely, when you think about the top 100 prospects in the draft, there's definitely guys there at the cornerback position. It's pretty deep. I guess my question to you in the cornerback, because I mean, I've been on the cornerback train. Anyone that's listened to me on the Steel Curtain Network for like 2 years, we need a top cornerback. I kind of feel like it doesn't even matter what you do in free agency. You have to bring in a cornerback in this draft. Now, a lot of people get the tackle or the interior defensive lineman first because the cornerback room's deep. I don't know, Mark. To me, if there's Christian Gonzalez on the board, I'm picking him every time. I think it's more of a question with Joey Porter. But I mean, it's hard at this stage without the combine. But if they re-sign Sutton and they go get another cornerback in free agency, would you be okay with them drafting a cornerback at 17?
Yeah, it feels like something that might be one of the highest positional needs, right? I don't even know the college draft, but I do know that the needs of the team is definitely there. What's going to happen with the other bloke? So let's say they sign Sutton and they get that deal done and he doesn't go away. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler. You got Sutton, Levi Wallace, right? He's probably number 2 no matter what. Sutton's a really good player, but we still need that, that number 1 guy too.
Correct.
And then does Millette stay? There's the other bloke.
Yeah, I think Millette stays. I think he's on a 2-year deal.
I like him too. He's a good guy. He's a good
he had a good finish to the season.
I like how he was chirping in the locker room, telling them all to shut up, telling the guys to lower the music down, you know what I mean, have some be more professional. I think he was the one in that standpoint. So, he's a guy that's just there to have that veteran presence or that good presence. The other guys though, what about William Jackson though? What happens with him? We got.
You cut him. You need the 12 mil. So
because he's there, right, and Witherspoon's there. Those are 2 fellas that didn't really play.
You cut them. You cut them. You got $16.5 million. You can't not cut them.
So they're cut. So Witherspoon's cut, and in this scenario, he's cut, and so is Jackson the third, right?
Yeah.
So then you pretty much have a huge need at cornerback position, right?
You then have. I mean, you've got James Pierre, who I'm not a fan of. Again, anyone that's listened to me knows I don't mind him, but I think he's a 4th or 5th cornerback. I don't think he's a top 3 cornerback.
But they might bring him back. He's a free agent too, right? Isn't he?
Restricted free agent, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So he might come back and be a 3rd guy. But if you go and get one of those guys at 17, I think it's either that to me, or that might or even be a defensive tackle. But I'm saying all the needs now, but it's a high.
Let's stick to cornerback.
You need someone. You need someone there. You have to.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing. And even I don't mind them going and spending good money on a free agency corner and retaining Sutton and then drafting a cornerback at 17 if you got a Christian Gonzalez on the board, or even if you really like Cam Smith or Joey Porter, fine, or a Keely Ringo. But I think he really hurt himself this season. Keely Ringo. He was my top cornerback going into the college season. But I think you bring that guy in because you don't want the rookie to have to do everything up front unless it's Christian Gonzalez. He's a Pat Surtain type cornerback that plays the Broncos. He starts he's day one. He can be a top cornerback like a Sauce Gardner as well. But I'd rather someone learn. And a lot of Steel fans are sort of scared of drafting a cornerback in round 1. I'm not. We have Terrell Austin, who, as much as I criticize him, he is a defensive coordinator. He does coach the secondary. We've got Mike Tomlin that made his name coaching the secondary and the cornerbacks, defensive backs at Tampa when John Gruden and he won the Super Bowl. So I'm not worried about drafting that, and I think this cornerback class is good.
Also got Ike Taylor too joined the staff as well this year for the scouting. So he's got the help there from Ike Taylor and that connection, him being a cornerback too. What are your thoughts then? If they do go and get Gonzalez, does that improve the defense tenfold already? If they get a guy like that,
Gonzalez, as long as they, I think we get to the next hole on the team, interior defensive line. But if they do that, they can get back to being a top 5 defense.
Right. Okay. So it's going to be, home run hitter if they get that.
If Christian Gonzalez is sitting there at
excited.
17, there's only one other player who I got in a mock draft the other day it's not going to be like that after combine. Unless it's Jalen Carter, to me, there's no other defensive player in that they can get that's better than Christian Gonzalez that's going to solve the need that they have. Like, it's Jalen Carter or Christian Gonzalez in the first round. If those two guys are sitting in there, they trump everyone else in my mind. I don't care about tackles and all the rest of it. Trade back up into the top round from 32. Like, if Gonzalez or Carter are there at this moment in time, and I probably won't change my mind on it because I felt this way for a while, they're the two guys you go and get every day.
So it's a big improvement. So if that happens, you've heard it here first on our first official show.
Well, mate, the guys like Christian Gonzalez.
I did read it. He can run, man. He's a speedster.
Man, the guy can run. He's 6'2". He's 200 pound. Four receptions.
I like him already.
Defense, 35 tackles. It's perfect.
And this is the problem too, that we hype them up. But you know what? If that happens, I think it's the Steelers are on the.
But we hyped up Devin Bush, right? If they really like Gonzalez,
that's true.
Let's assume they like Gonzalez, right? Then let's say sitting there at 11 or 12, they're only at 17. They've got the 32nd pick. That's the beauty about the 32nd pick. Now, I'm always a fan, as you know, in drafts of trading back and getting more picks. And I still think that in this draft from 17. But I don't think they will, as I've said on War Room several times, which will also be joining this channel too going forward. I've said that I don't think they will because they usually don't pick that this high. And they probably don't plan to pick this high again because we plan to be in the playoffs, right? But you could use 32 and 17 and pick at 9 or 10 if you love Gonzalez and if they think the cornerback is their top hole as well. Or Jalen Carter's sitting there at number 9, as well. So I don't think Steelers fans should forget that we traded up for Bush. We might trade up again. So we're probably more likely to now, I think about it, trade up than we are to trade back unless we get a really good offer there. So, yeah, I think let's move to the next positional need. What do you have on your list?
Mine is before I jump to that, Jalen Carter. He's defensive tackle, right? Is he not?
Yeah, he's defensive tackle out of Georgia. That guy's a legend.
Yeah, that's my next need. I think my next need is the defensive line. So I think we need someone next. Hopefully they can sign Ogunjobi and that Cameron Hayward's there. I believe they need someone in the middle between those two blokes to really start to get after the next 3 or 4 years and turn back the time and start that steel curtain all over again, And Hayward's getting long in the tooth, but he's got a good 3 or 4 years in him. I think the next 4 years.
I don't know if he's got 4. I think it's 2, and let's see about a third. But I think as well, it depends what the Steelers are doing, right? Like, let's say they make playoffs this year, then they're an AFC, or even go divisional round. Then next year you think, well, maybe they get a bit better and maybe they can make a Super Bowl, right? That's the way they got to look at it. So, yeah. But so you go Jalen Carter, you've got Brian Breesy out of Clemson, I think it is. He's sort of weird. Like he's 17th for the Draft Network. He's like in the 40s for Daniel Jeremiah. He's all over the place at the moment. His combine's going to be really important. He had a few injuries. A big bopper, 6'5", 300 pounds. Then you've got Keanu Benton, who said that he spoke to the Steelers at the Senior Bowl. I don't buy into a lot of that. Like, a lot of players talk to the Steelers at the Super Bowl, but obviously, apparently, Mark Tomlin said he was on their radar. He's on the radar, right? But he's more of probably a late second, maybe a third round pick. Then you've got the guy from the Pittsburgh Panthers. He's a bit smaller at 275 pounds. If you're going first 2 rounds, for me, you've got to have a guy that's like 300 pounds. I want a big bopper in the interior defensive line. I don't want someone that's going to take a year to put on NFL muscle. We need someone go now, smack the guys when they run it up the guts, right? Like, that's what we want. So I agree with you. I think it's up there. I think the only thing is, I think with one of my other positions I want to talk about, I think you can afford to wait till, I think the Steelers' second round pick is pick 49. I think you can wait till 49, unless, as I said, if Jalen Carter's sitting there at like 9 or 10, I think the Steelers should be doing anything they can to pull that guy in. I mean, he's a young guy.
You want to see them move up to 9 or 10 to get that guy.
If Jalen Carter's sitting there, I don't think he will. But if he's sitting there after pick number 8, I think throw in 32 and throw in 17, and I reckon you go and grab him, man.
That'd be crazy.
Or trade DJ in 17. Trade Deontay Johnson in 17 and go get Jalen Carter. Like, every day. That guy's lights out. That's like He, out of anyone I've seen over the last 2 years in the draft at interior defensive line, even more than Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter is a guy that could
There you
most get up
go.
to
So
an
he's
Aaron standard.
another guy that's been, I guess, hyped up by Matty. But
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez and Jalen Carter, probably like arguably my top 2 fits for the Steelers on the defensive side in the first round of the draft.
right. So, but yeah, but if we can't, definitely it's still a positional need, right? Who's playing defensive tackle now? Nose tackles more or less is it Montravius Adams. We all know that Tyson Alualu probably gone. He's going to retire. Like it's his
Yeah, I don't
16th
think he's
year.
back. Yeah,
I don't think he comes back. It would shock me if they signed him to a deal. It would shock me if he even signs any deal in the NFL. He played sparingly in 2022, and we more or less saw, different rotations of Leal in there, and we saw Montravius Adams. So they're going to get a guy like that, and I think it depends if they do sign Ogunjobi or whatever too. But that to me is another need. I think most of the Steelers fans can see that. It just depends where do you get them and who do you get at what time. That's the hardest thing to figure out.
And it also depends what you do in free agency. Like a lot of Steelers fans do we bring back Hargrave? I would rather them not bring back Hargrave and then they draft a guy like Jalen Carter and they move up in the draft. That's the way
get a younger bloke there for the future, for the next 5 years or 6 years or
exactly. Like let's go again. Like it worked with Casey Hampton. Like I just think let's go again.
Oh, big snack.
Yeah, big snack. All right, so
that's awesome.
Let's go to your third position then.
Right. Well, I'm actually I'm doing mine the way that I probably ranked them. So I'm gonna go with that theme still. I get this sense. Middle linebacker, but let's go there.
Yes, good call.
I think, but I wanted to say outside linebacker too because I think that's also a need as well.
Yeah, I think interior. I think there's a few more assured guys in the top 50 in the draft, no matter who you're listening to on the rankings, that are that middle linebacker, interior linebacker, whatever you want to call it. I really like a couple of guys in this draft. I don't know whether I wouldn't use 17 on them, but I think if you're trading back, you start to get into that conversation. So when I look at linebacker, I mean, I'm obviously on Damarian Overshawn in rounds 2, 3, or 4 because I'm a Texas Longhorns fan and I think he's versatile and he's massive. But when I look at linebacker, my favorite is Drew Sanders out of the Razorbacks. He played at Bama before that. A lot of people like Trenton Simpson. Trenton Simpson's certainly athletic, but I think Drew Sanders at 232 pounds, 6'5", he's super fast. He's super rangy. I think he'll have a good combine. To me, I said this a few weeks back on Steelers War Room. I think I said on Touchdown Under, pick number 32, Drew Sanders to the Pittsburgh Steelers, please, every day of the week. He had a bunch of tackles in the SEC. You can't argue with that. In terms of that production. You've got Henry Toto out of Alabama. He's a bit smaller at 6'2" and 228 pounds. With AFC North football, I just think you got to pick Drew Sanders. That's the guy for me. If you're looking later on, I don't mind Jack Campbell out of the Hawkeyes, but he's 6'5", 243 pounds. But yeah, for me, it's Drew Sanders every day of the week. Pick number 32, lock it in. You write the draft card up now. And this is another guy. Or Trenton Simpson as well. Henry Toto, if you do think he's going to add something in your sub package, but this is a position like cornerback. Even if you go out and get someone or you keep Miles Jack, I think you got to invest at this position. If you want the defense to win you games, we need someone like Mark Robinson's great, but he's another 2 years away from a project. Even if you bring back Spillane, you got to bring a young guy into this mix that's going to sit there for 4, 5, 6 years, be that stalwart in the defense.
Yeah, it needs some young, fresh face because we know that TJ Watt and those guys are getting older, but we still want them to, be effective at this time. I think it's because obviously Devin Bush is going too. We all know that. I think Miles Jack will stay, and I think they're going to start probably Spillane. I think Spillane will take that position, but I think it's going to be a position of need where you can build into it. More depth, the better. Another young guy to help out Mark Robinson. He was a bit of a firecracker back there. Bit of a physical guy. So bring another guy like that and build that, camaraderie around that room and cut Devin Bush, who didn't want to be involved in tackles. Well, the other one is that same as yours. Yours would be another need.
That's in top 5. I don't know whether I preference that over my next position, which I think we should get to, which is offensive tackle. because I don't see them using 17 on a linebacker unless one of these guys has the most ridiculous combine in the world, right? But I do think it's a top 5 need. It's just where do you address it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why, like, I say it's a top 5 because I think the Steelers with their second pick of the draft at 32, which is actually in the second round because of the Miami situation, I think they should be drafting.
Claypool. Thanks, Claypool.
Oh, mate, if we traded Claypool for Drew Sanders, you wait 2 years' time, you'll be going, oh my God, Matty, this was the best trade in the world. All right, so I'm going to take the lead here. I'm going to go to one of my others. I'm pretty sure it'll be in your top 5 offensive tackle, right?
Yes.
Like that's going to be in your top 5. Look, I guess I don't think they're going to get rid of Chooks anytime soon. So I think Chooks is the right tackle. I've been saying for over a year since he was like after his first year that Dan Moore could be a left guard. I know of behind the steel curtain. I know KT Smith thinks the same. I literally said it before, when he was a rookie in the OTAs and the rookie stuff. I said that Dan Moore could be considered a left guard. I still think that. I think he plays more like that as well. I know other people are supportive of that, but I've been saying that just as long as I've probably been saying that longer than I've been saying the Steelers need a cornerback. No one takes note of it. It's funny. But I do think Dan Moore becomes a versatile option. He becomes a bit more like your Matt Farler on the line. And then there's a bunch of offensive tackles like Paris Johnson. I don't think he's going to be there when the Steelers pick, but I do like Broderick Jones out of the Bulldogs. He's ranked 10 on the Draft Network in prospects. You've got Peter Skrononsky. I think it's funny. Everyone's up on Peter Skrononsky and says he's got a name. It sounds like a football player. Mm-hmm. I think Peter Skrononsky is actually going to be a better guard in the NFL. I think he's going to be very similar to Elijah Vera Tucker. You've got DeJuan Jones, who was a big 6'8", 360-pound guy that everyone was talking to at the Senior Bowl.
6'8".
He's massive, but he's got really good footwork, unlike Daniel Faalele from last year. There's a guy called Darnell Wright, who the Steelers were talking to. I don't mind Darnell Wright. I just think he's picked 49 for them. I don't think he's a first rounder for the Steelers. He might get picked in the first round by someone else, but he's not a top 20 pick. And then after that, it kind of loosens up a bit from there. But is there a name that you've heard of, Mark, or one of the names that I've mentioned that you?
The only one I know of with my limited knowledge on the draft is Paris Johnson. That's the only one I've heard of.
Yeah.
So, but my question is too, pretty much with the O-line, right? They played 99% of snaps together, almost all of them.
Yeah.
They aren't touching the right tackle. They aren't touching right guard. They aren't touching center. Is that right? Those 3 guys are pretty much going to stay there, correct?
Well, I don't know about Mason Cole because, like, I would say interior O-line's probably my next position, and I'm a big fan of some guys in the second and third round in this draft. So I wouldn't consider the center a lock, but I think Mason Cole is a great starter if you can. But I think left guard, but the thing is as well, it comes down to left guard. I think you're looking at a left guard or a left tackle and then a center. But there's plenty of guys in this draft that can play anywhere in the interior. There's a guy like Cody Mock who had a great Senior Bowl out of North Dakota State, and he can probably play all 3 positions. He's better probably in the interior, but he can play all 3 positions. So I think you bring up a good point, though, when it comes to offensive tackle is interior offensive line more of a need, or is it the tackle? I think that's where you were going.
The thing is, like, who we're going to see next year at the 5 positions, because I know they got I think everyone knows they're going to go to some form of offensive line draft in this draft in 2023. I think it just has to happen just for depth and for age and all that kind of stuff. But to me, who's going to be the starting 5? I don't know if they muck around with left tackle. Like you said, do they move? You know what? I am always stuffed around. I don't know what's the left tackle's name?
Dan Moore.
Dan Moore. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am somewhere in my brain. I always forget who it is. Dan Moore. He's going to move to he can move to guard, and then whatever happens to Kendrick Green. I don't know what happens with him, right? So.
Kendrick Green, he could be a cut target. I've heard people talk about moving to fullback, but then you've got Kevin Dotson. Kevin Dotson's in his last year. You might even want to trade. If you draft a couple of guys early on in the draft, let's say you're in the second or third round, you've got your best offensive line prospect, and there's another one you like on the board. You might even trade Kevin Dotson. And you might get a 4th or a 5th for him, right? Like,
that's what I'm saying. So do we think that the 5 there now will be the same starting 5 as last year?
I reckon max it'll be 4. Max.
Right. Because I think there's going to be some kind of.
And I think it'll be 3 by the end of 2023. It'll be 3.
Oh yeah, well, I don't think we'll see the same
Yeah.
effort or the same healthy,
Yeah.
healthy beings out there. But I think that would be my fourth
But they
need
could
as
even
well.
upgrade Dotson in free agency, right? They could be going and getting a guy. I think Jeremy Betts from Steel Curtain Network talked about a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson. There's plenty of guys out there they could go get. It's just I think you need to go get it. Again, I think it's the same mentality as interior defensive line. It's like go get a young guy and linebacker. And that's why all these positional needs in cornerback. It's my thing is how do you get young top talent at a position that means that next year, let's say you get 2 or 3 of these young top talent position guys, like we've done previously with Highsmith and Freiermuth and guys like that. Then you set up to the next year, go get the other 2. And this is how you constantly fill out your roster and you get better. You draft top talent. It doesn't matter when you draft them. It's just you draft top talent, you get younger at a position, and that helps you out to be able to spend money on positions that you haven't been able to fill out, or if there's really good players that do become available, or to re-sign your best players. We got to be thinking about it's not just 2023, it's beyond. But it's these guys that we're talking about, particularly early on in the draft, and particularly where the Steelers have holes in key positions, these guys can change the fortunes for the Steelers in 2023.
What about your number 5? I've got I know it's a weird one, but I've got outside linebacker. That's why I did them kind of both. I don't know what they're going to do there because there's we saw it last year with Malik Reed. There wasn't anyone really behind TJ Watt. TJ Watt went down for 8 games. We didn't win many of them. There wasn't really much of a force. Highsmith is awesome. TJ Watt's awesome. But who do we have behind those blokes? Is that going to be a top 5 need? That would be for me. Be top 5 need, I think.
I probably have interior offensive line slightly ahead. I do agree with you. I think they need to invest a fairly high pick in this, and this is why I'm keen to trade back, or I'm keen to even look at Deontay
to get more picks, right?
To get more picks, to get more guys. Yeah. The reason why I say interior offensive line, it's kind of hard. I haven't sort of decided between edge and edge rusher and interior offensive line purely because I feel like Dotson on his last year, Mason Cole, I think he's on the second year of a 2 or 3 year deal. And Dan Moore, I think improving that position would help us. I feel like interior defensive line is a little bit higher, but I do agree with you. I get very worried. I've been saying this for, again, 18 months now to you. I'm worried about the number of snaps that Highsmith and TJ and Cam Hayward have to play. Now, the other thing too is you've got Highsmith coming off contract. And I'm going to redo a show that I did on War Room, which was hosted on the Steel Curtain Network. I'm going to redo a part of that show soon on this channel around what a deal for Alex Highsmith could look like, because I do think they'll do a deal prior to the start of the season. Particularly, they'll want to lock him up early.
This season?
This season, yeah. I think before 2023, I think you're going to see them do a deal with him like they did with, Minka and DJ and TJ. But I agree with you. And so I think there's guys like Keon White, who's 31 in the Draft Network's prospects. I think he'll work himself into the top round. People talk about Luke Van Ness, but I think he's more of a 4-3 edge rusher or a 3-4 defensive linebacker. Defensive, lineman, sorry, not defensive linebacker. What am I saying? So I think when it comes to the edge guys, you're looking at guys like Isaiah Foskey, maybe. Allison out of the Buckeyes. I do like Zach Harrison. I like Pickens. I like Will McDonald, but I worry. I think the Steelers are gonna have to draft him earlier than what we might want to if we're looking at the ranking of these needs. I like Demar and Overshawn, as I said, as just an inside linebacker for the Steelers because I think he can do some stuff on the edge. So I think there's a few guys in this draft, but I think that's one of the tasks for me that I'm going to really look at over the next few weeks is who are those edge rushers in probably rounds 3 to 5, because that's probably where you're going to get your depth. But because of how heavy a draft it is at cornerback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, offensive line, I think you're going to get where you drafted an edge guy in rounds 2 or 3 previously, you can get that guy 1 round later this year. So if it was round 2, it's now round 3. If it was round 4, it's now round 5.
So who do you rank your, I guess, top 5? What do you want to go first? If it's going to be,
I'm going to go corner. I'm probably going to stick with cornerback.
Yeah, same here. I think it's going to be cornerback as well. I think that's going to be 17, no matter whoever it is. You know,
And
I
then
think
I'm
it's going to be.
probably going. If I'm thinking about this in order, let's say they've drafted the cornerback. I
Yeah.
think they're going to draft linebacker next.
Ooh, like inside linebacker, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
And then look
right.
at 49 at the
I reckon
interior defensive
if
lineman.
it's the way I'm ranking it, I would go inside. I would go cornerback, defensive tackle. That'll be my first
Okay.
two.
Okay.
Right.
Then I'm going to go interior defensive line next. So you're going cornerback, defensive tackle. What are you going next?
O line at 3.
Actually, I'll probably go O line over IDL then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
O line at 3, and then I'm going to finish with the inside linebacker, outside linebacker at 4 and 5, basically. But I think we're in agreement that's going to be corner. I think it's going to be if there's some high prize guys up there, and you've talked me into Gonzalez now. So we say 6'2", 40 speed, superstar.
Yeah, man.
Like, bring him over. Cool name, Gonzalez. Let's go, Speedy.
Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's going to
All
happen.
right. Well, that pretty much wraps up what I had planned to cover on the show today, Mark. Anything else you wanted to finish off with before we close out for the listeners?
Derek Carr's not coming to the Steelers.
No,
Stop
he's
it.
not. He's not. He's so not coming to the Steelers. It's absolutely.
Nah, man. It's been a great little show. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around till the very end. And hopefully you hit that like, hit that sub, do all those cool things. But yeah, Derek Carr's not coming to the Steelers. And I'm pretty keen to see where this direction of the podcast can go. We're going to cover draft stuff, free agent stuff, and just pretty much talk whatever's happening in the Steelers news, man. Because I saw that article the other day from Fox Sports, and that guy says that Kenny Pickett's not the guy and it's Derek Carr. Mate, Derek Carr hasn't done anything in like 8 years.
Also, Kenny Pickett beat Derek Carr.
Yeah. Look, he's an okay quarterback, but he's not a winner. What have you seen him win? He hasn't won anything. He's 0-1 on playoff games, and he's won nothing. He doesn't do anything.
Kenny Pickett started the season, the Steelers would have been in the playoffs and probably would have had 2 more wins. Simple.
Yeah, I'd rather take Kenny Pickett right now, being a younger version, and like that guy saying bench Kenny and start Carr. It makes no sense.
Why would you do that? I don't understand why you do that.
Because this guy from Fox Sports has no idea how the Steelers work. It's not going to happen. He gets paid bigger bucks than I do.
Well, as Mark said, hit the like button, click subscribe, hit the bell icon, whatever the usual thing that everyone says is. If you're on the audio side, make sure you hit subscribe. We're on Anchor, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, Steelers TDU there. So if you're watching on video, you can go grab that there. We'll always put our content out on that too. But yeah, looking forward as we build toward the free agency, the draft, we build towards the 2023 season. Mark and I are keen to continue talking Steelers in this medium, in this platform for you. And yeah, everyone, whenever you're listening to this, have a great rest of your day, weekend, whatever it is. And I guess, Mark, are you continuing your usual sign off?
I don't know. Am I? Go Steelers. Yes, I am. Let's go. Go Steelers.